Good morning. Welcome to Pecan Corner. I'm Tina, and today I'm going to make granola. I sell my granola. I have a little small cottage foods business. Under Texas law, I'm allowed to sell certain foods that I make in my home that are baked or that are certain limited kinds of canned foods, jams and jellies and things like that. I also make food for my family and can most of the things that we eat. But I just got started doing this just last year. Just in the last year have I started pressure canning. I've always made jams and jellies and pickles, but just this past year is when I really started getting into it. So today we're going to make granola. I'm going to start off with this is a real tasty granola that we can use for breakfast cereal, as well as to snack or to put in your yogurt. But it's very tasty with milk too. Now this batch the recipe that I'm giving you makes a fairly small batch. It sounds like a lot, but it doesn't turn out to be that much. When I package it for sale, I put 6 ounces of the granola, because it only takes about half a cup of granola in milk to have for cereal. Whereas other kinds of cereal, you're going to need 2 or 3 cupfuls because it's mostly air that's filling up that box. So we're going to use 8 cups of rolled oats, and you want Old Fashioned oats. The nice thing about granola is you can change it up. You can make it however you want it. We're going to use 1 cup of flax seed meal. I use this instead of oat bran or wheat germ. I like the flax seed meal. I like having it in the mix there. It's healthy for us, and we got there's just a tablespoon or 2 left in the bag. We'll just go ahead and put it in there. Empty that bag. And I'll put the recipe down in the comments. Now I need 1 cup of almonds and 1 cup of pecans, and I like to chop these real fine. So I'm going to step away real quick while I get these chopped, so you don't have to watch that, and then I'll be back. Okay. All right. Now I'm back, and my friend arrived. My friend Vivian came in to see us. She lives out of town now, and we miss her a lot, and I'm always so glad to see her when she comes. So I'm going to get my nuts put in here while the coffee's perking, and then she and I are going to sit down and have a cup of coffee. So I've chopped 1 cupful of almonds, and I like to get the ones that are sliced because they're just so much easier to chop. And then I've also chopped 1 cupful of pecans, and these are raw pecans, not roasted ones. And so I'm adding that in there. And next, let's see here, where we at? All right, that I'm going to set all of that aside, because the next thing that I'm going to do is mix up my sugar and honey and my butter and my coconut oil. So when we come back, we'll work on that. All right. Now, Vivian and I had a lovely visit, and I'm so glad that she came by to see me. And now she's gone on back, and so I'm back to my rat killing here. Well, my granola making. That wasn't a very good term to use. All right, 2 cups of coconut. I'm using the Rob's Red Mill. I'm using unsweetened shredded coconut. If you only have sweetened coconut, it'll be fine too. There's 2 cups of that. Now, the next thing, we set that aside, and now what we're going to do is we're going to use a saucepan, and we're going to measure out a 1/2 cup of coconut oil, 1/2 cup of butter, and a full stick is 1/2 cup. I've been using coconut oil instead of shortening because I can't find any shortening that doesn't have hydrogenated oil or soybean oils in it. So I either use lard or coconut oil, and I found that here Kroger's has the best price on the plain coconut oil. Now I'm going to have 3/4 of a cup of honey. Notice that I measured my oil first, and that way I've got a nice oil coating to help the honey and a little bit in my 1/4 cup measure, because I'm going to need that. You can use from a 1/4 to a 1/2 cup of honey. Just depends on how sweet you like it. I'm also going to add a little bit of sugar. Use a 1/4 cup of maple syrup. I was blessed to be able to find a good price on maple syrup at Big Lots. Right now they have it real maple syrup. You have to be careful, read your labels, make sure it says pure maple syrup, because they'll, right up there next to it, it'll be sitting in jugs that look just like maple syrup, and it'll say maple, and you look and it says flavored in real tiny print. 1/4 cup of that gives it not only sweetness but a really nice flavor there. Alright, and I'm going to use a cupful of sugar. And this is pure cane sugar. I don't use beet sugar. I use Imperial pure cane sugar. C&H pure cane sugar. Alright. 1½ teaspoons of salt. Tablespoon of cinnamon. tablespoon of vanilla. And this is a teaspoon measure. I'm going to use 3 teaspoons here, so that's a tablespoon. Okay. Alright. Now then, I'm going to heat this until the butter has melted, and I'm just going to bring it just to a boil. And I'll be right back as soon as it starts to boil. Okay, my syrup's boiling now, so now I'm going to pour it over my oats and flax seed and coconut mixture, and work it all in together, and just stir and stir and stir until everything is coated and absorbed. Just keep stirring. The more you stir, it'll all spread out and it'll cover everything. If you don't have a big bowl like this, until you're able to get one, I think this is indispensable for any kitchen. Is a huge bowl that where you can really mix things up with it. If you don't have one of those disposable turkey roasters will work well. One place to find big bowls like this is in, believe it or not, dollar stores or stores in ethnic neighborhoods. You know, because you need a big bowl like this if you're making different kinds of homemade breads, and lots of folks in lots of cultures still make tortillas every day or make biscuits every day, and so you keep your eyes open, you can find you a nice big bowl, and then just stir. All right, looks like it's good. Now I'm going to put it out. I've got my oven needs to preheat to 325. And I've got parchment to line my cookie sheets with. I'm going to pour half onto each one and spread it out thin. And then I'm going to bake it for probably about 25 minutes. If you want, you can bake it at a lower oven, turn the oven down to about 275 and bake for up to 40 minutes, turning, you know. But I'm pretty good at about, like I said, about 25 to 30 minutes at 325 works for me. And then I stir it right after it comes out, because I don't want it to have big chunks, just light. There's that one. You do need the parchment paper, because otherwise it'll stick to your pan or might burn. And while I can substitute wax paper for a lot of things, this is one of those that parchment paper really works best. You can save the parchment paper to use for the next time you make it. If you're going to make this often, just, you know, fold it up and put it in a baggie so it'll stay clean, and so you won't be tempted to use it for something else, and just use it again, because it won't hurt it. It's still... I can move a little bit of this to this other one. There we go. All right. Now see, I'm not putting any fruit in this now. I don't put my fruit in it until the last minute when I'm packaging it up, because we don't want our fruit to cook. We don't want it to bake. We want our fruit, our dehydrated fruit, without it baking like that. Okay, all right, these are gonna go in the oven and I'll see when they're done. All right, now then, after it's done, I stir it as soon as it comes out of the oven, and then I stir it once more. I leave it on the pans until it's cool, and then I put it all into a big bowl and let it completely cool. This might take several hours. You want to be sure that you don't put it in your bags too fast. The same goes for bread. I made a bad mistake last year. Didn't hurt the bread, it just didn't look very good. But I had a special order, and instead of letting my bread sit for 3 hours before I bagged it, which is usually what I do, I bagged it up after an hour when it felt cool to the touch, and took it to my customer. Well, condensate, it was still warm, and condensate came in the bag, so the bag actually had moisture in it, and I had to tell the customer they needed to open the bags and let the bread dry out. And so that was like, okay, I don't want to make that happen again. So it takes a long time for that moisture to come out. If you set your trays on pans, and I always set my bread on racks. If you set your trays or your pans on racks, it helps it cool a lot faster. But even at that, unless your room that you are in is very, very cool, it takes several hours for things to completely cool off enough to package them. I recommend 1/2 cup per serving, and so I package 6 ounces, which is actually just about 1.5 cups of granola, and I actually weigh it so that I can be a little bit more. Okay, now the other thing, now is when I add my fruit, and strawberries rehydrate great, and they taste good in cereal, and they're the easiest thing in the world to dehydrate because you don't have to treat them. All you do is slice them and put them in your dehydrator. I also like peaches, and people really seem to like the granola with peaches in it. These are the two favorites. They either want strawberries or peaches. Bananas dehydrate well too, but I haven't had people want bananas in there. So I think that's because it's so easy to slice a fresh banana into something, whereas a peach, a good vine-ripe peach or a delicious strawberry is going to be a little bit harder to find. So what I like to do is add just enough dried fruit to give me 1/2 ounce of dried fruit. That's a lot of fruit. It doesn't look like much, but it just a sec. Let me get this in here, and then we'll measure it and we'll see how much it is. Okay, that's going to be a good. I'm sure that's going to be at least 1/3 of a cup. I usually do this by weight so that my customers can feel good about what they're getting. Yeah, that's going to be a good 1/3 of a cup of dried fruit. And actually, that's maybe 1/2 cup even. 1/3 of a cup really, though, is what this is kind of piling up. But what if it weren't all stacked up on top of each other, it would equal about 1/3 of a cup. It's just kind of piling up because the strawberries are so big. So about 1/3 of a cup of dehydrated fruit pieces, or a 1/2 ounce is what I put together. And then I have labels. In Texas, we're not required to list our ingredients. I like to do it so that if people have something they have a problem with, they can know that it's in there. But we're not required to. We are required to list allergens, and so I have 2 different labels. I have one that lists strawberries and specifically calls out strawberries as an allergen under my my allergens list in large letters, and it also of course says that it has pecans and almonds and strawberries and milk products in it. We're not required to, but I always put on here that it's made in a kitchen that uses nuts and peanuts, just because I use nuts and peanuts a lot, and so although I try to you know, clean my preparation space and clean all my utensils well, and my hands and everything, and make things on different days, there's no guarantee that anything that comes out of my kitchen is not going to be exposed to peanuts or nuts or tree nuts. And so so people need to be aware of that, and if they have a nut allergy, their best bet is to not eat foods that I've cooked because of that. So I have my little labels that'll go with them, and then I'll take these out there, and you've seen them, you know, in my videos from the farmers market. So check with your state or with your local health department and with your state to find out what kinds of things you're allowed to sell and what the requirements are for them. We have to take, in Texas, we have to take a food handling course so that we learn about safe food handling. And then we have to, like I said, we have to meet these other certain requirements, and we're limited on the kinds of things that we're allowed to make to sell, and on the places that we can sell them. We can't sell them through the internet. We could advertise them through that way, but we have to physically sell them either from our house or from a government or nonprofit sponsored event or a farmer's market or our own farm stand. We can't sell them at certain other kinds of events. So I hope you've enjoyed this. If you want to make this just for you, and this is too big a batch, it's real easy to just cut everything in half, and you'll still have a great batch that's great for your family or great for gifts. This makes fabulous gifts. Everybody just loves it. It's great for snacking too. So thanks a bunch, and I appreciate you all watching and coming into my kitchen. Thanks a bunch. Bye bye.